What's up? What's up? If you can hear me, see me, all that good stuff, let me know in the chat. Just put a one or something, one or two, doesn't matter. Just let me know if you can hear me or see me, although I'm sure if you can't, someone will say something. Um, and then once I get confirmation on that, we will begin. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with this live stream. If you have any questions or anything like that, put it in the chat. Once again, we are ready to roll. I finally have chat working, all that good stuff working. And so today's video, or today's live stream, I should say, we are going to talk about how the election of Trump has changed the American expat, immigrant, or even digital nomad experience abroad because it has certainly changed it to some extent. And the reason I wanted to do this is because there were a couple things that I noticed. So, first, my barber, for the first time in, I don't know, 3 years, asked me what I think of Trump. Second thing I saw was I was having a conversation with a guy on another YouTube channel, and he pointed out there was someone in this space, I guess you can say, who created a video called, well, I don't know what it's called. He just told me about it, and I don't know who this creator is. And he said why he's proud to be an American, like why Trump made him proud to be an American again, or something like that. And he lives in Poland. There's a lot of guys that fit that bill in Poland, and apparently he took the video down. That doesn't surprise me, and we're going to get into some of the things that you should be aware of if you are going to live this type of lifestyle or travel under current circumstances. So, how has the election of Trump changed my experience? First thing I need to point out is I live in a country, well, all the places I live are great, but the only place I've really spent significant time since Trump took office is here in Mexico. And Mexicans super friendly, really nice people, really kind people, and I have integrated myself into society. So most of the time when I'm out and about, I am speaking in Spanish, like I would say 95% of the time. My neighbors, with the exception of like two of them, are Mexican people. Okay. And so my neighbors know me, all that good stuff. So I haven't dealt with any backlash because of this. And frankly, I was talking to one of my Americans who's Mexican American, born here, worked in the United States for a bit, then decided to come back here. Shocker, shocker. And he said, yeah, in Mexico, people just really don't care about your politics all that much. And I told him about how my barber asked me about my thoughts on Trump. And I mean, my barber is a pretty close friend, I guess, if you will. Acquaintance is probably a better way of putting it. And my barber really didn't care what answer I gave. And then I asked him his thoughts on Trump. And to no surprise, not the highest thoughts on Trump. So here is what I'll say. My experience has certainly been impacted by the fact that I have integrated myself into the society. I can speak a decent level of Spanish. And so I'm not like the typical American because I do know there is some pushback prior to even Trump in like Barcelona and Mexico City about and Lisbon as well about foreigners moving to these places and increasing prices. But in addition, people were also asking me because obviously Trump has a lot of rhetoric around Mexico and the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, I believe is her name, had some contradictory rhetoric or counteracting rhetoric, I guess you could say, where she said, you know, you had the whole Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America thing, blah, blah, blah. And So it has definitely impacted relations, but for the average person, I really don't think people really see Trump when they see an American. And so for me, it really hasn't impacted my experience all that much. But that's not to say it hasn't impacted other people's experiences or it won't impact your experience depending on what part of the world you live in. And that's when we're going to get into a little bit different conversation. But as of now, I can't say anything has really changed with the election of Trump in my day to day life. Everyone treats me the same, absolutely no problems. And frankly, I was worried if there would be any kind of pushback, if you will, because Trump has said some crazy things about Mexican people and things of that nature, and so I guess it was normal for me to even get, like, people like my mom saying, "Oh, what do you think this is gonna do to the relationships? Are they gonna, like, start treating Americans differently, blah, blah, blah." But I think they're really good at separating politics from, individual relationships. And another thing I will point out is if you are interested in this lifestyle, no matter who the president is, it's only going to get harder to get more citizenships, more residencies, and so on and so forth. So that's another good thing that I did is I got started early. I mean, I have my well, I probably shouldn't show it on camera. So, but I have my residency card right there with me. So not new to the game here. Also, just some good old black coffee. Now, with that said, I want to give you a bit of a cautionary story and tale about why you should probably have at least some cursory level knowledge of politics if you choose to live this kind of lifestyle. Because once again, I will go back to what I said at the beginning of this stream with the guy in Poland. Once again, I don't know who it was. The person took down the video. I had this conversation um, maybe a week ago, maybe less. And I didn't even ask who it was because, frankly, I don't care. But even when I was spending time in Poland, towards the end of last year, I guess, later quarter of the year or later third of the year, it doesn't matter. When the elections were going down and all that good stuff, I mean, there was a significant shift of guys who tended to align themselves with Trump going to Poland. And frankly, I don't support either of the major parties in the United States. So I really don't care. And I'm used to essentially not really fitting in with anybody in regards to politics. So that's one reason I love places that aren't super political, although my background is in politics, interestingly enough. But I noticed that, and this once again, this is one of the reasons I decided to do this stream is I was talking to this guy and I said it was Connor Klein, and you can probably go see the comment I left under his video. And I said, yeah, I noticed a lot of the MAGA people were going to Poland, which is hilarious because Poland is essentially on the same trajectory as the United States is. Yes, they have a booming economy, blah, 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 but they're putting more money into like military. They're putting more money into benefits. They are spending more money. And generally, uh, they are also, I mean, we aren't going to get super deep into this because this is not a politics channel, but they also have an election coming up. And the general belief as of now is that they are going to go with someone who is more left than the current president of Poland is. So you used to see a bunch of videos about how the Polish president was cracking down on immigration and blah, 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 and that the current guy is more right leaning than left leaning. And you'll even see on some of my older Polish videos, there's Polish people saying, "Yeah, we aren't the same Poland anymore. We're about to become super woke and super left." Although, I mean, that seems like a bit of an exaggeration because it takes time to become super woke and super left. But you would see a bunch of these MAGA, Donald Trump loving Americans going to Poland and saying, "Oh, they're cracking down on immigration, blah, blah, blah," but they are following in the same trajectory. Anyway, long story short, you would see these people going to Poland, and they just don't seem to be super in tune with how other people feel about Trump. And so they would run around being like, "Yeah, I love Trump, blah, blah, blah." And I tell you guys this, don't talk about politics on your first date. I mean, that's like one of the dumbest things you can do. But especially if you're in Poland and you are a Trump supporter, especially now, it's even worse now. Like, Trump said crazy stuff before the election, right? And people were saying, "Oh, that's just rhetoric, blah, blah, blah." And he was saying he would end the war and all this kind of stuff. Bunch of stuff, bunch of fluff. And lo and behold, he didn't do that. And he ended up, essentially supporting Ukraine or supporting Russia. Let's be honest here. So you have a bunch of Trump loving guys in Poland saying how much they love Trump while the he's essentially supporting their number one enemy in life. So, because don't get me wrong, Polish people do not like Russia. That is like maybe not public enemy number one, but it's in the top two. I mean, I don't know how they feel about Germany nowadays, but I would assume it's Russia is their number one enemy. Okay. So, um, you get people going there and saying, "Oh, I love Trump, blah, blah, blah." And then they're shocked at the backlash they get when they find out that Polish people hate Trump and they don't particularly want to be dating or hanging out with Trump supporters. So it's like going to, I lived in Portland, Oregon, right? One of the most leftist woke places you'll ever go. Imagine going there and saying and like creating a dating profile that says MAGA, I love Trump. Do you think that's really going to work out for you? Now, that's just something to be aware of. The whole reason I even went on that spiel is because Trump has undoubtedly changed the perception of Americans for good or bad, mostly bad, throughout the world with his recent antics. Because let's be very clear, there are very few places that are aligned with Russia. And pretty much any place that I talk about on this channel is not aligned with Russia. So, you're pretty much promoting someone who is promoting, so Trump supports Putin in a way, right? And Putin is the number one enemy of all the places we talk about on this channel. So how do you think that's going to go? Now, most of these places are pretty decent at separating politics from actual Americans, but some places they might hold it against you a little bit, right? So be aware of that. Why do you think so many men in this travel managers have it? I have no idea. I should read the whole thing just in case people are watching on the replay. Why do you think so many men in this travel manospheric space have attached themselves to Trump as a personality trait? Well, one, I think it is because of marketing purposes. I think it generally helps with like the alpha macho guy being like, "Oh yeah, Trump, MAGA, blah blah blah." Um, and kind of a differentiator, right? But other than that, I don't know. Like, I really don't want to talk bad on people, and I know there's probably Trump supporters that are watching this right now. So Um, I really couldn't get too deep into that. It's just well, I mean, I will say this though. Politics has essentially become a personality trait for most Americans, which is why I don't really enjoy spending time with Americans. Um, because you're either like left or right. Actually, this is a good segue kind of, if you will. I was watching a video of they were asking, ooh, I think it was a hard right woman if she would rather date a liberal or an illegal immigrant. And she said after like super debating, she'd rather date an illegal immigrant. And it just goes to show how much politics are part of like someone's identity. It's um it's it's frankly insane because once you start doing the whole identity politics and making, Trump as a personality trait, do you really support everything Trump does? That's why I've always said I'm independent. Well, I mean, I haven't always said that, but um I mean, most of you already know where I lie on that, but um you're never going to really agree with 100%. And frankly, this is part of the reason I hate this whole topic is because both sides aren't really open to conversation, right? I mean, the right is more open to conversation in general than the left, but yeah. Like I remember one of my friends was on a dating app in Portland, Oregon, I think it was, and it was like, if you're MAGA, just swipe left. And frankly, I don't care if I'm dating someone who is I don't really care what their political identity is. MAGA doesn't watch shows like this where they might learn something about the world. I mean, frankly, I feel like both sides are very attached to where they are. Here's what I'll say, and this is a very extreme example. Are you ever going to make a Bernie Sanders supporter or no, let's go with AOC. Are you ever going to change the mind of an AOC person? Probably not. Are you ever gonna change the mind of a Trump supporter? Probably not. Now, here's the thing. I mean, this is why I don't wanna get into this. People say Trump is on the right. He's not. He's essentially I mean, we're gonna go down such a weird rabbit hole. There hasn't been a right-leaning president in forever. Republicans are supposed to be small government based. When's the last time we had a president that was actually on the right? That's why when I talk about right and left, it's gonna blow some of your guys' mind. Because if I say the right, people are gonna say, "Oh, that's Trump." And if I talk about people who are on the right having more of an open mind, you're gonna think that's like MAGA Trump supporters, and it's not. The right is, well, everything's a spectrum. But back to what Alex said, no one's really open to conversation because it's a personality trait. But back on topic, right? You need to be aware of the politics going on in the region. Because if you aren't aware of the politics going on in the region, things like what I just explained are going to happen to you, where you go to a place and you're super MAGA or what may have you, and guess what? That place isn't super MAGA, and then you go, "Oh my god, I hate these people, I can't stand these people, blah, blah, blah." But that was your mistake. Way too much political talk on this stream, so do not expect this one to stay up. Let's okay. But yeah, so that was my little spiel. It hasn't really impacted me. I think it depends on where you choose to go, but I do think certain places, especially Europe, have a different opinion of Americans nowadays than previously because of Master Trump or Emperor Trump. All right, we are, if there's no questions, we're going to end the stream. And I am going to go enjoy my Sunday. I hope you guys enjoy your Sunday. And yeah, peace.